You know, we've got some fascinating stuff to dig into today. You sent over research exploring how teachers are doing and its ripple effect on their students, and honestly, it's really got me hooked.
Mm.
Our mission today, let's really unpack the connections revealed in this meta-analysis you shared.
Absolutely. We're diving into uh, is teachers' well-being associated with student school experience?
Yeah.
A meta-analysis of cross-sectional evidence. It's from Educational Psychology Review.
Right.
And what's so powerful here, I think, is that it's not just one study. It's a systematic look combining findings from, what, 26 different studies?
Wow, 26.
Yeah, that gives us a much broader and, probably more reliable picture of what's actually going on.
Exactly. And just quickly, for anyone listening who maybe hasn't run into the term before, a meta-analysis, it's like taking a whole bunch of related studies and pooling their results.
Yeah, looking for the bigger pattern.
Right. You see the overall trends much more clearly. It's like zooming out, seeing the whole landscape instead of just one little patch. So what we're really trying to figure out today is, what do these combined findings tell us about how a teacher's well-being actually links up with what students experience, day to day in school?
And right off the bat, the study hints at something really interesting. It's not like a simple one-size-fits-all thing.
Oh,
Yeah. Different aspects of a teacher's well-being seem to connect with students in, well, different ways. That's definitely something we need to explore.
okay. Okay. So let's get into these different facets then. The study looked at two main categories, right? Two main types of teacher well-being. What are they?
So the first one is hedonic well-being. This is probably what most people think of when they hear well-being.
Okay. Like happiness.
Exactly. Feeling happy, experiencing positive emotions pretty regularly, being satisfied with life generally, and importantly here, enjoying your job. It's about those sort of day-to-day good feelings.
Right. The kind of things contributing to that general sense of happiness, contentment. Got it.
Precisely. But then they also looked at eudaimonic well-being. And this goes a bit deeper.
Eudaimonic. Okay.
Yeah, it's more about a sense of purpose, personal growth, feeling like you're realizing your potential, functioning well psychologically. It's not just feeling good.
Ah, okay.
It's about having like a meaningful and fulfilling life and work, a sense of, thriving.
So hedonic is more that immediate happiness, and eudaimonic is that deeper sense of meaning and growth. That feels like a really important distinction.
It really is.
So what did the meta-analysis find then when it looks specifically at how teachers' eudaimonic well-being connects with the student experience?
Right. This is where we start seeing some, well, pretty compelling connections. The study found moderate positive associations between teachers' eudaimonic well-being and several key aspects of what students experience.
Okay.
Let's start with the quality of student-teacher interactions. The correlation they found here was 0.243, arcing 0.243.
0.243. Okay, moderate positive association. What does that practically mean? For someone listening, what does that look like in a classroom?
Well, think about a teacher who feels their work has real purpose, right?
Mhm.
That they're growing professionally. They're probably more invested in actually building positive relationships with their students.
Mhm.
They might be, say, more patient when a student struggles, maybe better at communicating, better at creating that classroom climate where students feel, safe and valued.
Right.
That sense of fulfillment seems to translate into those stronger connections. Um, and just for detail, the confidence interval was between 0.045 and 0.422 to 0.045, 0.422, based on 9 studies.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. A
Wow.
teacher who feels like they're making a real difference, yeah, they probably bring a more positive, engaged energy to those interactions.
Mhm.
What about the student's own well-being? How does the teacher's eudaimonic well-being relate there?
Interestingly, they found a similar moderate positive association, correlation of 0.280 R, R22A0. That was based on 8 studies. Confidence interval 0.117 to 0.428, 0.117, 0.428. It suggests that when teachers have higher levels of that eudaimonic well-being, that purpose, that flourishing,
Yeah.
their students also tend to report higher levels of their own well-being. It's almost like a positive emotional environment that kind of spreads.
It feels almost intuitive, doesn't it? Like
Yeah,
teachers who are thriving in that deeper way seem to foster an environment where students also just feel better.
it does feel intuitive.
It's great to see that showing up in a large body of research, though. What about how engaged students are in their learning?
Again, the pattern holds.
Hmm.
The meta-analysis found another moderate positive correlation, 0.25, or, oh no, actually, between teacher eudaimonic well-being and student engagement.
Okay.
That was based on 8 studies, confidence interval of 0.115 to 0.375, 0.115, 0.375. It suggests teachers with that strong sense of purpose. They're more likely to have students who are actively involved, motivated, invested in learning.
So, if a teacher feels their work truly matters, that sense of meaning kind of creates a classroom where students are also more tuned in, participating more.
Seems like it. Yeah.
Okay, now, what about the area that, let's face it, often dominates the conversation in education? Student achievement,
Yeah.
academic performance, test scores, that kind of thing.
Right. And this is where we see a really important nuance, a key finding. The correlation between teachers' eudaimonic well-being and student achievement was found to be weaker.
Weaker. How much weaker?
The correlation coefficient was only 0.65 or 0.065.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Based on 8 studies, again, confidence interval 0.016 to 0.11, 0.1016, 0.116.
So a much weaker correlation. So while this dupper teacher well-being seems connected to these other really crucial things, relationships, student well-being, engagement, the direct link to something like test scores seems less pronounced, at least in this analysis. That's a really key distinction, isn't it?
It really is.
Could it be, I'm just thinking aloud here, could it be that this eudaimonic well-being affects more foundational things? That like the learning climate, the motivation, things that then influence achievement more indirectly, maybe over a longer time than these studies captured?
That's a really insightful way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. You know, teachers with that strong sense of purpose might be fostering a better learning climate, building those relationships, boosting engagement.
Right.
And those factors, in turn, contribute to better academic outcomes down the line. So this weaker direct link in a cross-sectional view doesn't automatically mean there's no link to achievement.
Just that it might be more indirect or mediated by these other important factors.
Exactly. Mediated is a good word for it.
This really makes you think about, where the focus is in education. It seems like supporting this deeper well-being in teachers could have really significant positive effects on the whole learning environment and the student experience in ways that go way beyond just hitting certain test score benchmarks.
Precisely. It suggests that efforts to cultivate teachers' sense of purpose, their psychological functioning, could yield these broader benefits for the whole school community, even if the immediate bump in standardized test scores isn't the most dramatic effect you see right away.
Now, the study does flag something important about the evidence itself, right? A limitation we need to keep in mind.
Yes, absolutely. The researchers are quite clear about this. They emphasize that the vast majority of the evidence they analyzed was cross-sectional.
Cross-sectional, meaning?
Meaning the data on teacher well-being and student outcomes was all collected at roughly the same point in time.
Ah, okay. Like a snapshot.
Exactly, a snapshot. So while we can see these associations, these links, we can't definitively say from this data that changes in teacher well-being cause changes in student outcomes, or, the other way around.
Right. The classic correlation doesn't equal causation. So while it looks like there's a relationship between a teacher's sense of purpose and, say, student engagement, we can't be 100% certain from this type of data that the teacher's well-being is driving the engagement. It could also be, maybe, that having really engaged students helps the teacher feel more purposeful.
That's entirely possible. Or it could be both influence each other, a more complex interplay.
A feedback loop kind of thing.
Could be. The researchers themselves explicitly say that future research really needs to use longitudinal designs following teachers and students over time.
Right, track them.
Yeah, to really tease out the direction of these relationships. That would help us understand much better if supporting teacher well-being leads to those positive student outcomes. Or if positive student outcomes boost teacher well-being, or, like you said, if it's more reciprocal.
That makes perfect sense, like trying to figure out if the rain makes the ground wet or wet ground causes rain without watching it over time.
Good analogy. And it sounds like this meta-analysis ended up focusing more heavily on studies looking at that deeper eudaimonic side of well-being.
That's correct. The study notes that a significant majority, actually 20 out of the 26 studies included, focused specifically on assessing teachers' psychological functioning.
Okay.
Which falls squarely into that eudaimonic well-being definition. So what that means is the evidence for the associations we've been talking about with student interactions, well-being, engagement, it's somewhat stronger for this type of well-being.
I see.
Compared to the hedonic side, which just wasn't examined as often in relation to student outcomes in the studies they gathered for this meta-analysis.
Gotcha. So to kind of wrap up where we are, This big review gives us a pretty strong signal, doesn't it? There's a significant link between how teachers are doing, particularly that sense of purpose and psychological well-being,
Yes.
and several really important parts of how students experience school. But, like with all research, still some important questions left, especially around that cause and effect piece.
Exactly. It provides compelling evidence that teacher well-being isn't just, a nice to have for the teachers themselves. It seems to have tangible connections to the student experience. Right.
But yeah, more research tracking these things over time, that's going to be crucial for getting the full picture of how these dynamics really work.
So for you, the listener who brought this really fascinating research to our attention, the big takeaway here seems to be the evidence strongly suggests that how teachers are doing, especially in terms of their sense of purpose and psychological flourishing,
Mhm.
has a real connection to how students experience school, their interactions with teachers, their own well-being, how engaged they are.
And definitely important to remember that nuance about academic achievement. While there's a link, this analysis suggests it might be less direct compared to those other really vital aspects of a student's school life.
Yeah. Which leads us to, I guess, a final thought to chew on. Given these findings, what are some potential ways the education system could actually better support teachers' eudaimonic well-being? Not just satisfaction, but that deeper sense of purpose and growth.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah. And what kind of ripple effects might that support have for students? Effects that maybe go beyond just test scores and influence their overall development, their whole experience in school. It really makes you think about the bigger picture.
Absolutely. It sort of shifts the conversation, doesn't it? From
Yeah.
keeping teachers satisfied to actively fostering meaning, growth, that psychological thriving, and the potential payoff for students, their well-being, their engagement, the whole learning environment could be really substantial.